guys have been put on notice. You know? No more excuses. You've been told. Okay? So before I get into it, please take a second. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Plus, I Allegedly is now available on Spotify and wherever your favorite podcast is. So you can search it and you can find I Allegedly. If you want to sit in the car, you just want to listen to it at night, you can do that now. Don't forget to join the email list because we got an email going out in a couple of days.
God, it takes forever.
And also, you know, M&T Bank, Old National Bank, you know, you've seen them up there. Now here's the disturbing part of this whole thing, and that is this right here. There were other banks and other lenders that got warnings that didn't make the news, guys. And I had to put together a couple different stories to get this for you because this is troubling. This is the part that's the big part, the big warning. We have a Patreon channel for I Allegedly, and I warned everybody with the Patreon channel, and this is even more breaking news.
Ryan. I couldn't say horse shit on Twitter, could I? The AC ain't doing so great. Lucky's doing much better. We actually had a legitimate walk today. He's, you know, he's a different dog, but it's really amazing. It's like his, I don't know, nervous system or his blood system adapted, and now he's walking. But he when he shakes himself, he collapses, or when I have to help him up and down stairs now, but he can walk, and very slowly, very old man style. But boy, what a blessing, because he literally just had his two front paws, and he would be on his butt for a couple of days there. So it's night and day, and I'm very thankful. My AC coils maybe need to be cleaned. Yeah, I need to get somebody here to look at it, or you know, it might be as simple as the thermostat, and it may be the coils. It may be that Freon needs to go in. Well, try day orders, Chris. Try day orders on E-Trade. You can re-enter them every day, or just you can do it as the stock. I don't think it's going to all go up in 1 hour. Could be filter, could be Freon, could be the nut behind the wheel. What Ryan was talking about is this article that's Congressional Research Service informing the legislative debate since 1914. Look at this. Short selling refers to the sale of a security which and if one of you's a English teacher, why isn't that which? Why does everyone use that? I would say that should be which. But anyway, I don't know. Short selling generally refers to the sale of a security that the seller does not own or does not deliver. Absolute crap. Absolute crap. If you don't deliver it and you don't locate it, you're committing securities fraud. As simple as that. It's the law. So if Professor Angel wrote this, he should be ashamed of himself. And that's all I'll comment on it for now. Because it goes on to more complete horse shite over here. But we'll leave it. I don't want to get my temper up. We'll leave that for now. We shall leave it for now. And get ready for. Thank you very much, Greg. It makes me so I'm just grateful. That's what I am. I understand that he's in his last stages. He's well into the fourth quarter of his life, but I'll take it. I think, Chris, something is about to happen in Finger. I did want to point out to you guys something I was thinking about. I do think sometimes you might be surprised. You might find it difficult to understand, but every now and then I think I know it's a scary thought. But look at September. I believe the September options expire on the 22nd. It's basically two-thirds of the month, 3/4 of the month. Sorry, 3/4 of the month. So when you own September calls, you're getting the majority of the month. But look at the weird thing that happens with August. The calls expire on the 18th. So if something is happening, remember I thought something might happen in July. I actually thought even June. But if something happens in Finger in August, the options expire in the middle of the month. There's still 2 weeks to go. So it's possible you can miss an August event by owning August calls. So I would just bear that in mind. The premiums are much higher on September than on August. So I don't know if it justifies it yet, but maybe next week, if you're looking to buy calls, you go ahead and gobble up the Septembers instead of the August, if you're still in the market for calls. That's not financial advice. Just give a little more time. That's true. I agree, that's good advice, Lion of all trades. You won't lose much value when you have September 15 calls versus August 18 calls. Give a little more time. I agree with that. Does Finger seem to be volatile, Do you remember, Hobson, when we used to play hide and seek and you could never find me? Do you know I never looked? I didn't look. So let me look now. Oh, yeah, it's no volume, 263,000. It was as high as 563, as low as 519. It's the same. It's just the same over and over again. They're trying to get it up, so you'll buy in a panic, and then they drive it down. They're just messing with your mind. I was thinking, I'm not trying to be religious or anything, but these are devils. These are devils. And they'll do anything to make your doubts inside of here explode and get you stepping the wrong way. I think Line of All Trades meant that you should buy the September 15s instead of the September 18s. I don't know, but that's the only kind of thing here that we can control. The rest we can't control. But make no mistake about it, the shorts are trapped in Finger. Finger is on the verge of an earnings explosion, despite what that shill, Celine Dion, it's too bad that she's not well. We've all got it coming, kid. I feel so much more comfortable with an 80-cent GTII than a $5.30. So I'll tell you what, you're going to be uncomfortable when I recommend to you that ASPA, the Aubrey SPAC, trading at 1185, might be a squeeze. Why do I say that? Because this SPAC, AURC, did squeeze. Came from around 1050. We still have time before the hamster comes on. I want to show you one thing regarding logic, because Ham's not going to be interested in that. Oh, they sell it down. Oh, they sell it down. I wish I had money to... but I just want to show you one thing. On logic, look, let me show you. Up top, it says logic. And then you come down. This is on Yahoo. Shares outstanding, 95,120,000. 95,120,000. So if we use that number, and we use Aubrey SPAC at 1185, but I think it looks like it might go higher, believe it or not. The deal that the other one did, AURC, is a massive deal. So that's a slight difference. But anyway, if you take 114 million shares times 11.85, that's the deal that's been agreed, and then divide that by 95,120,000. It's $1.42 a share. That, based on today's price, the Data Logic spinoff into Aubrey SPAC will be worth, on visible pricing. Obviously, people might sell. I think they're going to put a restriction on how many shares people can sell. But ceteris paribus, it's worth $1.42 a share just for the Data Logic part. Oh, I know, Lion, you're not giving financial advice, and then I'm not, everything's my opinion and nothing is financial advice. I like your point about keeping options closer to the money, because that's where you build up equity quickly, and then it gives you the flexibility to do other trading stratagems. Wiggums. All right, so let's see how Finger is trading. 533, 289,000. It's not a lot of volume. There was, as you know, a time for a long time where that'd be pretty significant volume. But compared to what seems to be going on, it's not. This letter, which I've shown you several times, if I can find it again, this letter, which was filed with the SEC, is dated, let me highlight that for you. I'll highlight a couple of things. So I'll just point out several things on this letter. It was dated August 1. They requested, let's see, I can't quite read it, consent to the withdrawal as soon as practicable of the registrant's registration statement, the S1, dated September 8, 2022. The registrant, Finger Motion, has decided not to proceed with the selling shareholders. Who's that? The Lind Partners. So that means Lind Partners is no longer their quote-unquote investment bank. It's not an investment bank. It's just a den of thieves. The registrant, the registration statement was never declared defective. So there should be no problem under Rule 477 with this being withdrawn. I did read that when you do this, it's automatic, and then they have a sentence, unless the SEC contacts you within 15 days. So my point is, conceptually, this was August 1, August 15, maybe this for sure is done, and maybe they hire a new banker. Of course, that's next Tuesday, which is really close to expiration for the August calls. So that's the boat I'm in personally, but maybe some of you own September calls. And I guess unless you're buying garbage calls for a punt, I guess what I'm trying to say is go ahead and buy September calls if you're buying calls, if that's what you want to do. I can't give advice because I don't know your specific situation. Oh, good for you, Pete the Geek. Good for you. You've been working out? Rob the pilot? I need to work out. I go into a gymnasium and it's like walking into I don't know what. All my fears come to the front because I have no idea what to do. But I'd like to start working out. No cross momentarily above 3, Brent. Oh, natural gas. Sorry, that's my eyesight. Let me put my glasses on. All my life, I've been blessed with eyesight where I can read. But it's changing. N-gas cross momentarily above 3. Brent, 87. Wow. Thank you, Al calling, AC. Jenny Rebecca is here. Jenny Rebecca, 4 days old. How do you see the world? I don't want Theta to burn my contracts. I don't know what the hell Theta is, but I couldn't agree with you more. Well, I agree, Science Rules. The way to win is to hurt them where their pocketbook is. And I don't know if you saw it, but Goldman Sachs is, as they say on Wall Street, in a complete bastardization of the English language, Goldman Sachs is levered 100 to 1, and they're short some of this stuff. All right, I'm sure I've missed some points. My coils need cleaning. Yes, that's what you know. Well, you know. All right. David, hello. I had the same fear about working out, but I just decided lightweight on the bench press. But first I would walk 2 miles. That walking seemed to give me extra energy. Nice advice. I'll do that. Yeah, I'm ready, busy. Oh, I see. It's 11:58. All right. God. Get a few of you together and you turn into a bunch of nags. Nag, nag, nag. It's almost ham time. Yeah, I'll do it. 1 minute before seems to work for me. Get him going.
Hello.
Are you ready?
Yep, I'm always ready. Come on.
All right. You'll get your motor running.
All right, everybody. Welcome to whatever day this is. Naked short selling, education. Again, this is not the buy and sell. If the SEC is listening, as we all say, fuck you, but leaving us hanging, fighting the criminals by ourselves. All right? Everybody knows about the fraud, but somehow they don't. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, just want to start the day off with a bang here. Just to give everybody, hopefully everybody's joining in now. We raised the money to do our own naked short selling mini-series that will be presented either on Amazon, one of those Paramount, whatever it is, I forget what they said. But we have raised the capital, and we will produce our own series. We will make our friends the stars. Lynn Partners likes to be a movie star. We're going to make a movie star and have it on the big screen for them so everybody can see their faces, them and the other guys from Long Island, the Kramers. All the stocks that these guys have been fucking over, we will list them all and drag them through the fucking mud as much as we can. All right? They want to be scumbags, big tough guys. We will expose them and get it well known. And you know what? We will get back to DC. We will expose the guys that are shorting cancer companies. We will do what is needed to get done. But I just want to give everybody a heads up that we're ramping this up. We're not waiting for anybody. We keep moving forward, and that's how we do it. And I'd like to thank William for being a big part of this thing. Without him, we couldn't do anything. All right, so William, there you go. Go get your makeup done. We're going to make you sing the opening line and the opening song. Get in where you fit in. That's what we're going to make you sing. For those who don't know about it, don't Google it. But that's our theme song. Anyway, I just wanted to start out by telling you that, and then we can just walk into the trading and what's going on here today. Just out of the gate, finger motion popped up to 570, and they came down and attacked it. And then all of a sudden, the sell button stopped around $5.30, right? It's pretty easy to see that there's your bottom. They're not selling it lower. What happened to the attack down to 4 2 weeks ago? Like the building was on fire, they gave that up. All right, so here you got your spot. If the short's listening, we will expose you till you choke. All right, we are not going away. Play all the games you want. We will make sure that every federal agency, everyone in DC, sees this movie, and you will be exposed. So good luck. Enjoy the afterlife. Anyway, so again, the attacks continue. You can see it. The stock traded up, and in 30 seconds, they're pushing it down. The only reason they can't let it go up for the 9,000th time is margin. All right? A real short seller would let the stock go to 10, 20, and they could sell it and make more money when it comes back to earth. These guys can't let it go up a penny. Very different, and that's what you can see every day. On the opening, the stocks always tick down, and then, throughout the day, it starts to gradually accumulation. I always told you leads to higher prices. Same thing in GTII, the same pattern. You can see it. There's no one selling the stock. It's just them playing games back and forth. When you see these big bids pop up and they cross in a second, that's the crooks playing games back and forth to each other. All right, William, I'm just going to change it for a second. So you got the big news of the day. are in the movie business now. All right, whatever it is, TV, miniseries, whatever you want to call it, we will roast all these criminals. All right, and it's done already. It's in production starts Monday. This coming up Monday, whatever day that is. Is that the 11th? William, I don't even know.
Monday is the 14th.
Oh, the 14th. So it'll be after the response from the SEC to the senators on MMTLP. So we will address that also, I assume, in the production. So we will make sure that gets its press, so everybody gets brought up to speed on that crime also. Let me just change the channel here for a second. It was brought to my attention today a stock that just went public, just to show you how criminal this game really is. A company just went public. The symbol is Mary Indian Robert Apple. I'm hoping that I said it clearly enough for everybody. Mary Indian Robert Apple, Mira Pharmaceuticals. This is what it was relayed to me. 1.4 million in the float. Two funds own 1.2 million. So there's only 200,000 free trading shares available. In 4 days, the whole company's been naked shorted. They called NASDAQ up asking where's the volume coming from. And NASDAQ told the company, the short sell, it's all coming from short sellers in Canada. So they all know. That is word for word from the company to my friend to, from the NASDAQ. All right? So, and this is a company, I don't know exactly what they do. The company is 4 days old. All right? So, for all the people who think that this is crazy, I have nothing to do with the company. I know nothing about it. But there you go. It's a crime. 4 days old. And they know where the orders are coming from Canada. All right? So, and that's the NASDAQ telling the public company. What would I do? I would get legal representation and just go kill them already. But that's not up to me. But I'm just trying to bring you the attention of that. So I just want you to understand that this crime is just, it's insane that you have to watch it. The company, I don't know what they're working on, but out of the gate, they knock it down. All right, so anyway, I don't want to go through all these other stocks. There's it's endless. I was hoping, Bisney was trying to get the guy Richard Hotman on here to go over the Alpine. I don't know if he can call in.
He will. He will.
Excuse me?
He's going to, 12:15.
Oh, okay, because I wanted to actually, ask him a few questions myself. I'm not an expert on the Alpine. I'm not a legal guy, but when he does call in, we'll address it. Do you have any quick questions, or anybody have any questions about what I just talked about?
I have an observation. The Canadians, if we were in a shrink's office, the Canadians are being very passive aggressive. But anyway, that's my point. I have a question for you, and maybe you're getting to it. But Goldman Sachs apparently is leveraged 100 to 1 and in danger on these shorts. My question is, how much longer can little puny criminals like the Lynn Partners hang in there while Goldman Sachs is in trouble?
So again, these guys know. This story came out. It's posted on Twitter. The gentleman posted it to me. He's hearing from Goldman insiders. All right, he made a note to get it to me. Again, I don't own Goldman. All right, but the stock has been pulling out and going down quickly. We saw Jeffrey's CEO, I guess, sold the biggest stake he's ever had, the biggest sales ever. These guys know they're over leveraged and they're hiding this mess. They need to tiptoe out. It's no way out. This is going to be a bloodbath. I keep trying to tell people, if you own these big cap stocks, they're going to be a source of funds. When the shit hits the fan, they will liquidate the big names. So you got to be careful buying. If you're long Apple and all these other names like Nvidia, I've been telling you that when they start blasting away, that's the first names they throw out the window. All right, because they need to get money, and that's where all the money is parked. I mean, talking about the big funds. So that's where they go. Goldman, Jeffries, these brokerage firms, you got to be insane to own them. They have complete liability. It's unlimited liability. I just had my friend Lou just told me that he has a gentleman that knows Jamie Dimon, and Jamie Dimon is well aware of naked short selling. That's coming from a shareholder that just told me the story. All right, personal conversation, and he just gave me that story. So again, they all know about it. How do you protect yourself? They don't give a shit.
Jenny's telling me that Frog article that you put up, that company, Anson Financial, is from Canada.
Who is it?
That, I think it's Anson Financial. I'm looking for the article. The one with the frog on the front? Anson Financial is from Canada.
Yeah. Right. Listen, this has been going on for a long time. They let the Canadians, the loophole is through the Canadian depository, they come into the U.S. Everybody knows about it.
We need a border. No, just kidding.
We need something. Whatever it is, it needs to stop. Okay? They've all taken advantage of it. They all became rich. Listen, if you robbed a bank and you got away with it, run away. These guys have robbed the bank and keep coming back. That's the sickest part. Run away. Lynn Partners just fold up. Kramers, they keep coming back. I just want to let everybody know this latest one, this ASRE, the Kramers, were paid back their note, crying to the company that removed it, take down the 8K. And I'm told that the company reached out to Mark Bazile about an unregistered toxic lender. And right away, everything was okay. The Kramers disappeared again. This is like dealing with idiots. All right, we're playing against monkeys. I don't even know what to tell you anymore. These guys are so stupid. They keep coming, trying to lay in 50,000, 100,000, and try to steal $1 million, and they keep coming back. I don't understand it. They stole enough money, disappear, but they can't help it, and that's why they should be locked up for life. Okay, when you come back and you kill somebody once, you can't kill 300, 500 people. You're going away.
A couple of people are asking you to repeat that Canadian symbol, if you don't mind. The IPO.
Okay. Mary M, Indian I, R like in Robert, A like in apple.
Thank you.
Did I say MIRA, right? They shorted the whole thing in 4 days, and the NASDAQ told them. And that was one of the first calls I got today. Okay, then we closed up for everybody who's just joining in. We raised the funds. Production starts Monday on our Naked Short Selling mini-series, and we will roast our friends on the big screen. What the truck... I guarantee the truck will be prominent with their faces. Okay? Everyone will see their faces. All right? We're not stopping. This is a crime. We're not letting them steal our money. All right? So, again, it's out of my hands already. It's in the hands of the gods, the TV producers, everyone who understands naked short selling, from lawyers, everyone. And, they will have all the content they need, all the experts they need, and it's game on. All right? The hardest thing was raising the funds. The funds are done. Good luck. The game has begun. Starts Monday. All right? Well, we'll find out on what streaming platform, whether it's Amazon, Paramount Plus, they said, Amazon, whatever all those names, whatever they are. But it'll be 6 to 8 part series, something like that. And they will address multiple companies, and I guess you can figure out, where the information is.
And they're going to focus, Busy says, on MMTLP, which is great.
They're going to test. They're going to focus on MMTLP. We got them involved in it also. All right, so everyone will get an education. They'll get to see their name, the companies they invest in, because the companies have no voice in this world on the stock market. If you speak up, the regulators go after the companies. They have no voice. Investors have no voice. The companies have no voice. But the bad guys can send tips to the regulators, right? And they can get investigated.
Can we have an audience in the movie? Can we just fill a big conference room so everybody that's listening can sit in there and get their face on TV?
No, we're going to put the faces of the criminals on a piñata and bang them with a stick. That's what
There's a
you're
lot of people want to be in this movie, they're saying.
gonna do. Well, if you want to go into the movie, if you're going to be in the movie, William, you're going to be in it. So that's a fact. So there's no question.
I'll be on the cover of the Rolling Stone.
No, we're going to put you on the front of that truck and drive you around with a ball in your mouth.
Oh, Lord.
That's what we're doing.
I don't like that. I don't like that image.
That's the image we want. We want to show you how angry you are. Okay, so, again, for all the bad guys, all the bashes, okay, we will take your names. We will pass it up. We will list you on the wall of shame. Timothy Sykes standing with his cash, and his Rolex flashing it on a private plane. You want to be a big star? We'll make you a movie star. Let the federal authorities go checking through your wires and how you get all your money and how you're bouncing around. Go enjoy yourself.
All right, here you've got a guest. Hang on one second. There you go. You've got a guest. Not Legal Advice is in with the Hamster.
Welcome, Richard, correct?
Yeah, that's it.
Yes. Very
William,
nice.
Richard, I appreciate it. Everything you've done. Again, you got to remember that I'm just I'm like Pedro from Philadelphia. We worked on trading desk, and all we know is numbers and, the spot trading signals that's what we do. Again, legal information is not my game. I did do a lot of work with Morgan Lewis Bacchus in 2000 on naked short selling. So I had a major firm that we educated them, and they came back and actually helped us navigate through all the things that we can do to fight back. And that's how hard it is, using the best legal firm on the street we use to help us. And that's how hard it is. But I appreciate it. If you can just walk through in a quick way what your feeling is about Alpine and what the outcome will be.
Yeah, obviously at some point in time, Alpine's going down. It's a matter of how much FINRA wants to push, whether they want to dick around and go. So there's an appeal ongoing, and FINRA is involved in that. That will determine whether FINRA can expel Alpine and the timing of it. And so that's going on, and that'll be over probably sometime either the end of the year or beginning of 2024. But it doesn't stop FINRA from going in at any point in time in federal court and knocking Alpine out of business for all the violations they had of a 2022 cease and desist order. So I'm encouraging FINRA to go into federal court, not screw around with the appeal, go right after Alpine. Alpine obviously are they're scumbags beyond scumbags. They give scumbags a bad name. They're just bad dudes. And I did one video. They incorporate just nasty people because I think you've said it in a different way. But if you expect a rat not to act like a rat, it's on you. Right. Yeah. So I expect at some point in time they'll be expelled. And to the extent that triggers some type of short covering, then so be it. That stuff I don't know about. But yeah.
Richard, my question to you is that, one, why would Alpine pay their legal bills? Obviously, they're paying somebody to represent them. Why would they waste their time and their energy knowing the end is there? Because they're not that stupid.
Well, they're probably doing maneuvers to probably prepare for the inevitable. So they're probably trying to place themselves in the best position to either face a criminal proceeding, to hide assets, to set up alternative businesses, and or to wait for the Messiah to come that'll save them. One of those four choices.
Well, that's exactly what I've been saying, that they're buying time for a reason. And obviously, maybe there's a statute of limitations that goes back where they can't be prosecuted for something they did 7 years ago. I don't know, because obviously these guys have been looting for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not an ongoing, thing, then there may be a statute of limitations. But I was aware of attorneys that all they did was asset protection, and they just needed time to set up all kinds of offshore accounts and things like that. So that's what I would expect they're doing.
Right. So for everyone who's listening, I've been saying it a while. The DTC has never, ever given anyone proof that their company was naked shorted or shorted to death. We have it in a court document, and we actually know the prime broker, thanks to DBMM, the CEO, she gave us the tip 3 months before. That's where it was. And lo and behold, we got the SEC, FNGR, the DTC going after Alpine. We know the short is there. What account are they hiding in it? It's laying there. I guess once they give them the final blow, that's when it gets uncovered. Again, it's a crime that it's lasted this long. It's a crime that anybody's manipulating the stock. Whoever's manipulating the stock now is definitely doing it from offshore, right? And I could see the Kramers with their many LLCs shuffling it around and covering, thanks to the new shorts. They're selling it from a new LLC, covering their old positions, and they're going to put their hands up and say, hey, it wasn't us. But eventually, the paper trail unwinds. We know we shorted it first. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and I guess the difference is also that now everybody knows that it's real. It's not just people like making these claims about these fantasies of naked shorting. The world has now accepted the fact that it exists, and these guys will pay the piper. They'll certainly be out of business. They'll lose most of their money, and perhaps they'll go to jail. Kind of in that order.
Richard, can the authorities track the money even after these lawyers have hidden it?
Yeah, they can, but it's a real, you're going to have really good lawyers on one side making sure the government doesn't find this stuff. So even if they do, it's quite an effort. It's quite costly. And the government doesn't like to chance prosecutions and guess if they're going to be successful. They just don't do that. If they're going to go after somebody, they want to, a slam dunk. So the harder it is for them to get to the end, the less likely it is for them to pursue it.
So fraudsters can seek the protection of United States laws.
Well, the United States are offshore, but they certainly use United States institutions to benefit themselves in that regard. And like Ham was talking about Morgan Lewis, that's a great law firm, and that's the law firm so I have arbitration against Fidelity. That's the law firm that represents Fidelity, and they claim, and this is current time, they claim that there's no such thing as naked shorting. That's what the law firm claims. So
and Morgan Lewis claimed that?
Yes.
If my friend retired, but his name was Preston Tollinger. He was the senior partner there, and I educated him on it. So that was amazing. Was if we didn't pay our bill, once I started the fight through Morgan Lewis, if we didn't pay the bill, Preston told us they would kick us out in a minute because their clients were all big Wall Street firms.
Ham, that's why short selling doesn't exist over there. You didn't pay your bill.
No, we paid. We spent $1.5 million, back in the day in 2000 fighting this stuff, educating these. I had to pay the lawyers and educate them.
I know.
How's that one?
Yeah, those firms are their best legal departments are their collection departments.
Yes, they're very aggressive. And if you didn't pay, we didn't have, once the meter went off, we had to pay or they kick us out because we upset it. I believe they represented Merrill Lynch, Janney Montgomery, and I forgot the other firms. There's a couple of firms they represented, and they were getting heat from the firms because we were exposing this problem in 2000.
Yeah.
Well, it's what makes Richard so special, and he's doing the Lord's work because there's not a lot of attorneys that would take on this burden without expectation of being paid every 30 days.
Yeah, well, part of it is, I have a very reasonable client. I don't have to worry about me giving me a lot of shit.
Well, Richard, I can't thank you enough. Again, I won't keep you, but again, you made it nice and easy. I agree that they'll be hung. It's just a matter of time. I do believe that they're definitely cleaning up house behind the scenes. It's like the U.S. leaving Vietnam. They're running up to the top of the get off on the helicopters and get the hell out of here. That's what I
But
think.
Richard, feel free to say anything more that you wanted to say.
I would. I was going to say, I appreciate both of your efforts, really. And I appreciate you sticking it out and taking whatever nonsense you get in reply. But it's much appreciated. And of course, I have to leave you with this.
A joke.
Two Wi-Fi engineers got married. The reception was fantastic.
Oh, don't laugh at his jokes. It only encourages him.
Anyway, thanks again for all your efforts, and I'm there with you, and we'll keep up the fight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Richard.
So again, just to recap for everybody, we raised the money. We're going to do our own naked short selling mini-series and get this exposed. And this is coming from, this is not about GameStop. This is not about AMC. I feel bad for the people in those names. They had their opportunities. Their stocks went from 1 to 77, 3 to 500. Again, I feel bad for them. But life about Wall Street is moving on to the next opportunity to change your life. I'm not fighting for AMC when the shareholder doesn't fight. The CEO doesn't fight for you. I can't help you with that. All right? The CEO who cashed out and made tons of money needs to support you guys, not me. Okay, William, we're not supporting you. Listen, I feel bad for everyone who's bagged in it. That's what we call it. Pedro from Philly would say the same terminology. Again, we can't do anything about it. You had your opportunity. When you do have an opportunity, you're in a stock and it goes to the moon, you need to make sales. Put a nail in your fingers. Put a hammer and nail into your fingernails to remind you when the stock is going, start tiptoeing out, make sales, get your investment off the table, and then you have a free shot. That's Wall Street. That's what Wall Street's about. It's not buying a stock at 5 and selling it at 500 and say, I put the bottom and I sold it at the top. It doesn't happen. Okay? It just doesn't happen. So be happy, whatever it helps support you, your family. Make sure you protect yourself when the stocks go. If people bought MMTLP at $1 and it went to 12 or 13, if you sold some, okay, I know there's people that didn't. I got it. I'm talking, I'm not a Monday morning quarterback. But if you sold some, and I help people sell some, and they're on this call, they know it. And I said, hey, you got to take something off the table. I don't know anything about it. You don't know anything about it. But you know what? And you know what? They did, and they survived. Okay, because you never know what the future lies in the stock market. Any other questions?
Yeah, there's a bunch of questions, but I assume you're probably not going to go see Barbie. That's me teasing you. You always said to me that Wall Street's about pennies, and that's trading. That's taking your money off.
It's funny. Last night I watched Jon Stewart. His show, season 1, series, episode 6 was about Wall Street. And he had a group of people on there, and that guy, Dave Lauder, I think his name is on Twitter.
Yeah.
And he said the exact same thing. Wall Street's about pennies. That's what it's about. They take pennies. That's what they do. It's right. He said it himself, and he was he worked for Citadel, and they had a round table with Jon Stewart, and they addressed, the Robin Hood shutting it down, and this and that, dark pools, everything. And it all comes down to one thing: stock settlement. I don't give a shit about a dark pool. If you bought the stock, they need to settle it. If they're not settling the trades, the whole system is broken. That's it. So what they do is they make it more confusing, and everyone keeps getting, the SEC and the press keeps dragging people into payment for order flow. This one, that one, this way. It's stock settlement. Don't fall for it. I don't give a shit who I buy the stock from. Whoever I buy it from better deliver me the shares that I purchased. That's it. You know, I watched the thing with, I forget who I was watching. They said, if I buy your baseball card from you, you give me the money, I give you the baseball card. I think it was Pat Byrne. I can't remember. I'm always studying these things at night. Pat Byrne, I put up a video about him talking about settlement in China. They asked him to give his opinion on settlement. And he went back years later, and he asked about settlement failures, how are they handling it? And they said they don't have any unsettled trades in China. And Pat Byrne, and the guy told him 3 times, he goes, we don't have any problems. And Pat Byrne knows that if you don't settle the trades, the government's coming to get you. There is no unsettled trades in China. And he said they understood it, that how important it is for stock settlement. In the U.S., they're just doing it to help everyone's getting robbed. They talked about pension funds on Jon Stewart's show, that they're underfunded. They paid Wall Street, I think it was Ohio teachers' pension. They paid $1 billion in fees, and then the pension fund had a shortfall. No one cares. All the teachers couldn't get their pension money when they were retiring. They had big shortfalls. So that's Wall Street. Everyone, I tell you every day, all those teachers in Ohio got robbed. No one says anything about it but us here. Go ahead. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, Frank Benedetto of COSM is going to call in, so just get ready for that. Do you know who the prime broker is for Yorkville, is a question.
You know, I never dug into it, but I could try to figure it out. I will try to figure it out.
All right.
Let me write that down. Hold on a second.
Okay.
All right. I'll make sure I take care of that.
There's one guy pointed out that when he puts in, I forget through which brokerage firm, when he puts in his GTC orders, it comes back that his order has been filed through the Citadel Derivatives Group. Is that a threat to participating in the squeeze?
Why would it be a threat?
I don't know. It's his question.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Why would it be a threat? Meaning that they won't sell you stock?
I added to his question, but it's basically he was, I guess, amazed to see that his order is going through Citadel Derivatives Group. But I think they handle 60 or 70% of the order flow anyway.
It's probably one of the corporate names, one of the divisions.
Right.
If it goes through your price, you're executing. That's it.
Apparently, MMAT is going to release its second quarter earnings tomorrow. Do you have any thoughts?
Zero.
Zero.
I don't follow fundamentals. That's everyone on this call. If you're here for fundamentals, go do your own due diligence. I pointed out Finger Motion has great fundamentals. What did I do? I studied it, watched the CEO, and I followed it. Make your own decision on it. I don't believe in fundamentals at all. CELU, which I'm trying to reach out to help get on the show, okay, has tremendous fundamentals, working on life-changing, life-saving medication on infectious diseases. The stock is 34 cents, and that's Yorkville pissing all over it, couldn't care less.
All right. I guess I'm gonna have to call Frank Benedetto to get him on. He's called now 5 times. So let me see if I can get him on. I guess he wants to talk with you.
Do I can still speak or?
No, you'll be able to speak. You'll be able to speak.
Go do what you got to do, and I'll keep calling. So anyway,
right. No one's gonna hear you. No one's gonna hear you.
This is Frank.
All right, Ham, that's Frank merged in with you.
Yeah, don't worry, buddy.
Good, what's happening?
Nothing. I just wanted to add something in here that, I've been following this for a long time like you, but I've never been privy to firsthand
activity like I have with this ASRE. I mean,
Okay, tell us exactly and all the gory details so that people can understand what happens behind the scenes when a company has to deal with scumbags. Go.
this is play for play. The CEO, Ron, he took the money out of his own pocket. It was a $68,000 note, 90-something thousand with penalties and prepay. Sent the wire, and the attorney and him confirmed it with the bank that they received it. So they put out the 8K, and they specifically worded the 8K that the money was sent, not that it was paid off. Framers immediately called him, threatening to publish their own press release, saying that this is false, it's fraudulent, it was never paid off, we never received the wire. So we put Mark Basile on notice that this was happening. When this was mentioned to the Kramers, immediately the wire showed up for them. As soon as that happened, 5 new market makers showed up in the stock. Puma, ASCM, INPL, OTCN, and VERT, all leaning on the stock. Now, if this was a company that had 100 million, 200 million in the float, I could see where maybe some other market makers would join. There's 14 million on deposit at DTC. That's it. The authorized is only 100 million on this. So there's 14 million in DTC. Now they've switched over from threatening to, hey, we have this great new product. It's a Series C convertible that we can offer you these wonderful terms on. Okay? The stock has never traded this kind of volume, and it's a spotless company. There's no debt. There's no convertibles. There's nothing toxic. The CEO is very, very tight with his shares. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you have all these new market makers that are leaning on the stock.
But you got their crew. VERT, ASCM is the complete, Ascendiant is a complete scumbag. One of them is located in Boca Raton. Again, INTL, these are all backdoor guys, OTCN, they're all the same pattern. This is the same patterns. It's Puma, same thing. You got them all here.
It's just amazing that they all showed up in unison, because you and I both know Kramer started shorting the stock when it was 65 cents. They took it down to a dime. We took it back up to 20, and all of a sudden, all the panic started on their end. So, and I witnessed, this is firsthand. This is not third-party information. Firsthand, I'm heavily involved with this company. So I can confirm 1,000% that this is happening.
Frank, thank you very much. Have a great day, and we're all following it. And again, that's the
Thank you.
Kramers, the Long Island Kramers, the one the FBI
Criminals.
knows all about in their toxic lending. I hope
Criminals.
They go to
They're
jail
all
forever.
criminals, the Kramers.
Thank you very much,
All right.
Frank.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Go ahead. I can't.
Frankie Nice has put out a story that the short sellers have lost 175 billion this year. All right, I said, yeah, we'll answer that.
That's
GTII
only a fraction
most
of the trillions they've taken in.
Yeah, right. Well, again, there's plenty of dead bodies. The small naked short sellers always get blown up. All right, because they can't.
Sorry, just a second. The audience got confused. Yes, Frank came on to talk about ASRE with the Kramers being the criminal party. But anyway, all right. Sorry, I interrupted.
He had direct access to the company, and they gave him the names. They paid off the debt, and now the Kramers are crying, and it's just the same pattern. They just opened up a new LLC and just walked, like I just described to you. If you stole enough money, what are you still doing? Run away. It's so, like Pedro says, they sell without fear. The DOJ needs to pick these guys up and end it already. Enough. Everybody knows.
They're
Enough.
rapacious. You can't sate their desire. I guess they want to conquer the universe.
They want to be Warren Buffett. They have this need to be Warren Buffett. They're basically a zero in the equity markets. They have no value at all. They're thieves, and they just go after people that don't understand it, like Yorkville and Lynn Partners. I can't even list all the names that these guys have destroyed. Okay? They all belong in jail. They're criminals, and they walk around smiling as though they add value. We will take care of that. We will have the mini-series up. Production starts Monday. I want to let you know that we will make our short sellers movie stars. You better
I
go
love
get
it.
their attorneys.
I love it.
We're gonna show the world what bad actors really are. All right, we're gonna show them the proofs. We're gonna bring on. Hopefully, I can get the gentleman that just went to the FBI and have him, do an off voice, in the dark and tell us exactly his meeting with the FBI. So you guys can.
If it just keeps CEOs from ever doing business with the criminal minds at Power Up Lending, 1600 Diagonal, you would have done a service with this movie.
Again,
do you know the big nose you call him? He still cold calls companies. He still calls companies.
Charlie Mayo's still doing it?
Yeah, well, as of about 3 months ago, he was.
Well, listen, his next job is drying cars at the car wash. That's how stupid that guy is. All right?
Well, there'll only be white cars. He'll be in the lane for white cars.
Listen, when the shit hits the fan and the feds knock on his door, he'll be the first to turn over everybody. He'll rat them all out quickly. I told you, you go watch the show, Heist. Every criminal gets caught, they all rat on their whole network. If one gets caught, they all talk.
There's one guy. There's one guy here I think you would love. His name is Jeff. He used to work at a prison, but he always comes on with his dry sense of humor, and he says, "I don't like short sellers very much." He says they don't even look good naked.
Again, these guys are criminals. I can't even. My anger to these guys is just, listen, you stole the money. Go away.
I can't. What I get angry about is the ineffectuate, effete, complicit, captured SEC made the Kramers many times sign a cease and desist saying, pay us and you're not going to do this again. Well, where is the SEC following these bastards? They know they're criminals.
And everybody knows they're doing it.
They all know they're doing it. It's not hard to track. And he has the computer power because he goes after LGIQ. He goes after Finger when their stocks go up. What? His computers don't work when the stocks go down?
No,
Gensler's a complete joke.
He said on Jon Stewart that he spends $300 million a year on technology. That's what he says, chasing these people. And Jon Stewart said to him, come on, you got to be kidding me. He was very good, Jon Stewart. He understands it. And everybody understands it. But you know what? We're going to go down the road of exposing and telling our stories. I don't need to hear from the regulators. We're going to show them the proof, The Economist. We're going to show them Chris Cox, fraudulent naked short selling, The Economist. Everyone knows about it. The destruction of United Airlines. All right? That history did not go away. It's all there. So for those who think it's a small problem, they better wake up. For everyone on this call, I keep trying to tell you, there's 13,000 people that follow me. It should be 13 million. For everyone that's sitting around wasting their time following the Kardashians, your money's being stolen here. I'm not looking for no fame or fortune. I could give a rat's ass. But you can see that people think that, we can't win, we can't do this, and they don't bother. Right? I just explained to you that the teachers union in Ohio got destroyed. Wall Street took $1 billion in fees from them, and they lost their money.
Can you? I'll let you discuss. I won't add my opinion. But can you imagine what would happen if all of a sudden worldwide investors realized that Goldman Sachs is leveraged over 100-to-1 in short names across Wall Street? What would happen to our financial markets?
Well, that's why I keep trying to tell you. If you own big cap stocks, I believe this mess is coming to a head, and they can't hide it anymore. Okay, I don't know the day, but it's gaining traction in a lot of different places. But retail people need to teach each other. I'm not asking you to buy any stock. I'm telling you the opposite. Unless you're with a company that's fighting for you, run away. Go buy a house. You're better off dig a hole. All right? I'm the first guy to tell you that. Don't get me wrong. There's opportunities to make money if you're trading, if you understand what you're doing. But think about investing, you're out of your mind. CELU is a company I would have put money into. I met with them. They were outstanding. They took money, and I told you to stay away, 100 miles away, and the stock went down 60% already. And that's from 80 cents. I'm not talking $80. How could you own any stock? Because they attack it at any time. Etsy sells whatever the hell they sell on Etsy. They accuse it of selling counterfeit goods. Stock went down from 130 to 80 because of Andrew Left, who's under investigation from the DOJ. He said they're selling counterfeit goods. How the hell did he figure that out? They sell millions of things. He figured out, he found the one counterfeit thing. Does that sound like a story that someone would plant to make themselves a quick $10 million? Sounds like something to me. Right? Anyway.
I got more questions.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you that what I said about finger motion, I stand behind. The stock looks like it's ready to explode. It pops, it pulls back. Okay, I can't tell you how to trade, but the patterns are there. Just, we talked about it yesterday. Looked like it was ready to go. Popped up, slow walk up. It popped up to whatever, again, 563. They attacked it back down. No one sells stock like that. You sell stock when it goes up. No one sells it at the market to knock it down. If I'm selling stock at 560, trust me, I'm not looking to sell my next 5,000 shares at 520.
Keep talking about finger. Options, whatever. What do you see the price doing? When?
Well, again, options, again, is a deteriorating is a bet that, obviously that, that disappears in next Friday. But again, most of the money in the world is made, all the fast money in the world, every fast trader I knew, when we got a call or something that we thought was going to go, we didn't go out there and buy 50,000 Apple at 100. We would buy 500, 1,000 calls of the 100s to the 102s and the 105s. That's where the money's made. Leverage. That's what options are about. And that's how you get your gamma squeeze, because every option is 100 shares, right?
Right.
So you get more leverage for no money. You put up $500 and you can own, own an equivalent of, 10,000 shares of stock if you buy a cheap call, right? If you knew a stock is going to go from like VT, whatever that symbol was the other day, VTGN, it went from $1 to 60. Right? If it had options, you had the $2 calls. You're calling us today from your yacht. That's how much money you made. That's the beauty of options. The hardest thing about options is timing it. And the stock is telling me it's going, but you can see the shorts are sitting there. Please don't go past 6. Please don't. They're doing everything they can to stop the momentum. Again, for the option traders, it pisses them off because you need the stock to go in an 8-day period. For the longs, if you own the stock, the slow march up, it's only going to add to higher prices. Because more people can buy it and get the same price, and it just adds to higher prices. Accumulation always leads to higher prices. Option people want it to move in 3 minutes. I'm an investor on the stock side, and to me, keep walking it up nice and slow. What's another 200,000-300,000 shares they got to buy here? They're going to short it here, 300,000, 400,000 more shares, and they're going to pay 50, 100 to buy it back. Good luck. We all know, and that's why we have the calls every day. We're educating you on it. They hate it. Think about if we're showing you, as the criminal, we're showing you their battle plans. Right? No one ever wins when the other side has the battle plans. Remember that. Right? When I know what you're doing, it's hard. How are you going to trick us? We know all your tricks. Where are you going? We just ramping it up now. We went to D.C. We went to the regulators. Right? Now we're going to put them on the big screen. You're going to sit at home with your family and you're going to say, honey, that's the stock that I've been talking about every day, listening to these two idiots on the phone all day talking about it. That's what I do. That's what I do. And that's what you got to tell your sister about, your brother. Understand what's going on before they rip you off. You understand that, Big Lou in Brooklyn? Wake the fuck up. All right? Anyway, sorry about my French.
There's this you may not be able to answer, but there's a forecasting service out there saying that DBMM in 1 year will be over $3.80. Do you think that's realistic?
Again, I don't know that. It's tough for me to go back on history. I know nothing about how they got to whatever that price is, or how it happened.
Right.
All I know is that she trapped the Kramers. She's an ace. If I was running a public company, I want that woman to be the CEO. She's brilliant. She works hard, and whatever she says she's going to do, she does. So again, but I don't have 3 years to waste. I'm not here for that. I'm with the option crew. I want this over with in 3 minutes.
I know. You've got a good friend, loyal listener, who drives the byways of the United States in a big 16-wheeler. He's asking, is short selling in general good for the economy or bad for the United States?
It's absolutely made up by the shorts. Yeah, everyone told you how it's good for everything. If someone knocks on my door and wants to pay me $1 million for my house, and I paid $300,000 for it, you wouldn't even finish the word, "I'll give you $1 million," and I'd be throwing my clothes out the window. I don't need a short seller to tell me what my house is overvalued, my car is overvalued, or my stock is overvalued. They use that bullshit line because they think that you don't know what you're doing. But you know what? If I buy a stock at $1, like GameStop, and it's 500, trust me, I don't need Jim Chanos to tell me it's overvalued. I could figure it out myself. Right? We all knew that VT, whatever that GS, whatever, I can't remember the symbol, that popped the other day, a VTGN that went to 60. Trust me, if I owned it at 2, I'm out the door way before it got to 60. Now, I don't know everything about those companies. In a finger motion, GTII, we know everything. We know how big the short is. We know who the short is. We know everything about what's going on. It's very different. Right? So that you can stay longer in the game because you understand it. But short selling is a bullshit thing made up by the shorts. They add no value. And I put it up there every day. DaVita, Dog Victor Apple, Jim Chanos called it a fraud at $55 or $58. It went down to $53. It's a fraud. You put it all over, you can Google it. Dog Victor Apple. He tried to bury the company, a kidney dialysis company. And I posted, it's either going to go to 0 in 2 days, because if it's a fraud, the DOJ's got to shut it down, right? It's like Enron, right? He's the big Enron guy. Or it's going to go straight up. Well, went straight up to $125, and it did it again the other day to $118. He never said boo again. Where's his value? Why did he call fraud? Go into a crowded movie theater and yell fire. They'll lock you up. That's what he did. That's what Andrew Left does. They go into a movie theater and yell fire, and they get away with murder, and they steal everybody's money. The story in Bloomberg the other day, Hindenburg created $198 billion in market cap loss, and they made pennies. So they went out there, yelled fire, cost $198 billion in market cap loss to, they say to billionaires, but people own those stocks, whatever the ones they blasted, and he made pennies. Pennies. That means they're selling a stock short at $10 and buying it back at $8.75. And yet they're telling you the company's going to 0. Well, they don't believe in their own shit, so who's allowing them to do it, right? CNBC puts them on TV and gives them a voice to yell fire. Oh, here's a famous short seller, Andrew Left. Nobody in the United States is going to use the colon cancer test from EXAS at $28. And my friend Linda bailed out down to 23 because she listened to that idiot back in the day. The CEO, I think he's a doctor, debated that idiot on TV. The stock turned. That idiot was completely wrong. They stole a quick $5. The stock went to 130, and I think Bristol Myers took a stake in the company. Who would destroy a company that people can test to see if they have colon cancer? That's what Andrew Leff wanted to do. No one's going to take the test. That's what his answer was. That was his research. But they did a bear raid. Him and his friends attacked it and drove it down $5 and created a panic. That's what short selling does. So as a truck driver, these guys deserve to be thrown into your truck and lock them in there and drive them off and drop them off a cliff. All of them.
Of course.
They're not here to save you any money. They're here to steal whatever they can. I can do it. How about if I go on Twitter all day and tell them Jeffrey's CEO's a fraud, he got investigated, he's doing crack, he's sleeping with hookers. What do you want me to say? I can say that all day long. It's freedom of speech, right? And destroy the company and all the good people that work there. I don't do that. You can do it. Anybody can say it. You can say whatever you want. Go buy some puts and just scream foul. No one does that. There's people work at these companies, their livelihoods. The companies raise money accordingly to their stock price and their business. These guys destroy it. That's my answer for short selling. It should be banned. The stock loan is more fraud than stock loan. It's not even regulated. You can do whatever you want. William can call up and say, hey, I'd like to short this stock. We have no shares to lend you. Come on, here's $50,000 in cash. Oh, yeah, no problem, William. Go short what you want. If anybody calls you up, just tell them I said you can have it. There you go. If they call them up and say, you said William can short the stock, the guy's going to say, well, I made a mistake. I thought I did, blah, blah, blah. No one questions it. It's a free shot to just loot. That's it.
All right. And by the way, it's 18-wheeler, someone pointed out, so.
What did I say, 35?
No, I said it. I said 16. I made the mistake.
16 wheels, William. Come on. You got to get outside more.
I'm like Dan Quayle.
Listen, just look at this, William. That gentleman's driving a truck, busted his ass across the country, doing a dangerous job. At any given time, he knows the roads are dangerous. How the hell do you stop an 18-wheeler when you're doing 60, 70 on a highway? All right? Very dangerous. Nurses, doctors, the butchers, police, everyone's pensions are being robbed by these guys. And we're the voice for it. People speak up, tell someone about it. I'm not here pumping the stock. You buy your own stock, do what you want. But if you don't stop it, you're going to lose all your money. And I keep trying to tell you that every day. Here is the Kramers, just basically ASRE, lying, cheating, lending $70,000, shorting the stock, sticking their friends on it. It's like a crime family. Where is everybody? I don't understand it. They can do it to any company. Look what they did to MULN. Okay? People go, I don't like the guy. He never stood a chance. He had an idea for a car. Kill him. But the shorts think they're Julius Caesar. They're more powerful than anybody. He's no good. His electric car is no good. How do you know? We don't know. If Elon Musk didn't fight back against the fake New York Times story back in 2013, I think it was, where would he be today? There'd be no Elon Musk. They said the batteries were going on fire. It was a fake story. And Elon Musk came back and attacked and fought back. And that's why he's here today. If you don't fight back, you're going nowhere. AMC, the CEO, stuck his thumb up his ass and has done nothing. He turned his back on everybody. He's doing very well. The movie theaters are great. I go to the movies all the time. It's the greatest out. Everybody can go enjoy it. And the shorts want to kill it. Why? I don't know. Everyone on his phone went to the theater as a child, as an adult, whatever, and it's an enjoyable thing. Yet they want to kill this guy. You know what? If you don't stand up and fight back, and he deserves it. What can I tell you? I don't know.
What I find incredible is every single stock, the shorts somehow have information that the rest of the world does not have. And they're here saving us.
Listen, for anybody who owns a stock, Frank, anybody who represents any company, first thing you tell the CEO, when you do a presentation, don't talk to anybody. The only people that come to your presentations are some small retail people, and most of them are shorts. They try to befriend the CEOs and they short your stock versus whether you got an FDA approval coming up, they call up. They all try to be your friend. Everyone on Wall Street knows the only people that show up at these conferences are short sellers. Once I buy a stock and I watch a video, how many more questions can I ask the CEO? There's not many more I can ask, right?
No, you're right
the rest
about
is inside
that.
information. You tell every CEO you know, shut your mouth. It's called fan disclosure, and don't talk to anybody. That's it.
And all they...
And tell,
Sorry, I interrupted you.
no problem.
All they're looking for, the shorts, when they ask questions, is if there's some huge event that's going to trap them out. Otherwise, they don't care about the CEO or the company.
They could care less. They want to know if you need money, what the call was with the FDA. You know, all these CEOs go down, we had a great call with the FDA that we're going to have a review in 2 weeks, and they're looking around saying, wow, that's great. And they're trying to figure out, do you need any money? Are you raising any money? Those are your next questions. It's the same stuff. Again, people, there's only a couple of things you can do. Remember, you can buy a stock, sell a stock, short a stock, or naked short. That's it. So they need the information to make that determination of what they're doing here. The criminals are finding ways around the settlement system, and they're doing everything in their power to wash stock back and forth to buy more settlement time. They're using options to create stock to short. Okay, they're doing every trick in the book. And it all comes down to stock settlement. And the risk-reward is why we're here. And I see, and we presented the data, the naked short finger motion is 164, 400,000, I think now. I think that's the new number. We post it every day. All right? Let's say we're crazy and take away 64 million shares, not 164. Take away half of it. Take whatever number you want to be. The stock's traded 300,000 shares. If they stop selling and start to cover, the stock will be 100 before you blink an eye. That's because that's how deadly this is. And that's why we're here.
That's great. There's a stock TT000. Do you know anything about it? 130 million
Yeah,
shares.
we talked about it the other day, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I forgot what we said about it the other day. I got so many stocks, I'm losing my mind. Again, the CEOs, the CEOs, whoever's following that stock, speak to the CEO, tell him to shut his mouth. Try to do things, hire Tom Runk, expose the naked short, get behind the movement, okay? That's what they need to do. Get the proof, show everybody. Stand up like GRRR, GRRR spoke yesterday. They're exposing the naked short crooks. They're putting them on notice, right? That's what he said yesterday in his press release. Go read that press release. Think about the press releases that some companies that are putting out that are fighting back. This is the greatest market in the world, and everyone's yelling fraud, and no one's paying attention to it. That tells me this is the market of a third world country. This isn't a real market.
We almost got Pedro Philly to join us just now because of busy brands. Maybe you can let him know that you would be glad to have him join us anytime.
Oh, absolutely. Any day. Sounds like somebody who, sat next to me on a desk,
And he's a honest, hardworking, knowledgeable guy. And just like you, he's giving that information to everybody out of some sense of civic duty, I guess.
Listen, we like him. I'm sure he can't stand it either. I can't stand it anymore. All right? I do it because I have a family, and now I have a grandchild, and I have no choice. All right? That's the only reason I'm still here. And I would tell all my friends in jest, I would say, I don't give a fuck about you. I'm here for myself, which is true. But again, if we don't fight back as one, we're never going to win. And that's just the way it is. So I have no choice. We're all together, and we have no choice. So let's live with each other, and let's get the information. Like Richard just called in. He didn't have to give us information about Alpine. You got a great legal opinion for free, his opinion on Alpine. All right? I was just saying, looking at it from, a mile up, saying these guys are going down. There's not even a question. That's my opinion. But again, I'm not an attorney. I believe that Lynn Partners is going to get pinched. I think it's a matter of time. I think some of those, the CFO, Korean ladies or Japanese ladies, whoever they are, the Chinese ladies, whoever in this team, they will eventually give up. They don't want to go to jail for those other characters.
They probably have no idea
All
what.
the money.
Yeah.
There's people in these organizations in Yorkville, all right? They all laugh and they all high-fiving when they're stealing money. But eventually the knock is going to come, and someone's going to wear a wire, and they're going to give each other up. And you know what? You can steal all the money you want. When you're in jail, your life is over. That's it. There's nothing you can say. You know, I'd rather be broke hanging out on the corner than go to jail. And I knew a gentleman that went to jail. He had to go to Rikers on every Sunday for the weekends. He had to do weekends for a year, right? Growing up, I remember him from the neighborhood having to go to jail. And he came home and he told us stories that he went in with ratty shoes. They stole his shoes. They beat him up, and he had to stand in a corner, and he couldn't even sit from Friday to Sunday till they let him out. All right? That's how brutal it is. And this was a tough guy. All right? But when you're outmanned and there's gangs, good luck. All right? And that came from a guy. I know a couple of people that went away, and they all say the same thing. They said that guy Savvy, that fat bastard from Savvy Investments, he would last 3 minutes in here. The people from Lynn, 2 minutes. The Kramers are going to have to fight their way out. All right? They want to be tough guys. He's a boxer. He better learn how to box better.
All right, Ham, I'm gonna call Pedro and have him talk with you. Hang on.
Hey, William, how are you?
Hey, I'm gonna merge in. All right, two brains, two voices of reason talking. Pedro and Ham.
I don't have a brain. Pedro's got the brains. I just have a voice.
No, I lost my brain a long time ago, but when you started talking about shit in the box, EXAS, I was going to chime in just with a little bit more history, because my client at the time was their top position. This is well before that other crap. This stock was back in the smear campaign that they did on this company literally killed people. Killed people, because people that would have had been diagnosed with colon cancer early, and it's a cancer that if it's found early is highly treatable, but if it's not, it's like ovarian cancer. If it gets to stage 2, 3, it becomes exponentially more deadly. And these mother truckers, this was back in 2015. This company was on its way. Stock was around $27, $28. Everything was pointing whatever, and they started an absolute smear campaign, for a year. Absolute year. They took it down to $4.67. They flat out lies, misrepresentations. It's what they did to Tesla, but it delayed the entire rollout of this for well over a year and a half, 2 years, because then they got the FDA to roll away. We're going to investigate these allegations, and everything slowed down. And even worse, they got Andrew Left involved in that years later, because they were getting taken behind the barn, and they were trying to stop the pain and just try to get some back in. They ended up actually suing. I forget the one guy that was the big short on the thing. He actually sued the company like 3 years later, accusing them of manipulating their stock. I mean, it was ridiculous. And then they just went away. They got taken behind the shed. Stock went to 100 and change, and the rest is history. But their real attempt to kill the company was 2 years, 3 years prior, more than that, prior to any of the games that Andrew Left. They had multiple hit pieces. Because my client, they primarily do healthcare and biotech. They knew the thing inside and out. They knew the company inside and out, and they hung through it the whole way and ended up, hanging in there. But they were telling me in real time that these are outright, absolute 100% fabricated lies that the short sellers were disseminating through anonymously written hit pieces on Seeking Alpha. They got people to write, to literally fabricate data They did everything they could because they were trapped in this company, God, from 2013, 12, all the way back to, when it was $3 in 2011. They were trying to put this thing out of business all the way since then. These guys stay with companies forever. I know for a fact that a certain person that owns the Mets has been trying to kill an ovarian cancer company since 2006. Still there.
Wow.
And then he has daughters, he has wives, he's got a mom. They don't care.
I know
They don't
very well.
care. They don't care. They will literally treat their kids to make a quarter. And so when Ham was talking about EXAS, that's why I chimed in. I'm like, man, I remember that saga and the beating my client took on that. It almost put them out of business. It was a small hedge fund. They ran $150 million, but like the hedge funds that do things the right way, truly invest, support. They do index shorting and stuff to hedge their book, but they're not nefarious. They're just guys that started a fund and invested in companies, and then the company ended up making their fund because they still own it. They own it. Their average cost is around $8, $7, and they rode it the whole way because they got through it because they got close to the company, understood the science and everything else. But it nearly put them out of business. I mean, they had their limited partners then start asking questions like, well, are you sure about this? Are you sure about this? Because they underperformed because of it. And then all that needs to happen is a couple of limited partners say, you know what, I'm done with you guys. You underperformed for 6 months. I want my money back. Well, then they start losing money and they have to sell it. They have to sell the positions. So it's a multi-layered attack job what they try to do. And make no mistake, they also look at the ownership structure, and I know also this for a fact, that they will take a bullshit-sized position so the management picks up the phone. Oh, look at that! They invested in our company. They see the dream that we're building here. No, they don't. They've got a massive hidden swap on you, and they want to file 100,000 shares that they own so that you'll pick up the phone and they can take your temperature in terms of your body language and what's going on in events. Like you mentioned before, we're submitting this, that, or all this other stuff to try to get the littlest kernel of an edge. And, I'll shut up after this, but I'll tell one other anecdote. There's a tiny little company that I talk about all the time. I'm not going to say the symbol because I had a call with the CEO and about 2 weeks ago, and we talked about some stuff. And years ago, I told him, I said, every microcap should have an ATM in place, no matter what. You always have to be able to sell stock into the market if something crazy happens on a squeeze. So you can just pick up the phone and raise some dough. Because the trap is, if you call your banker, the next call the banker makes before he does a thing is to his buddies. And then all of a sudden the stock starts leaking oil, and then they do the dog and pony show. They convince these small companies that the stock's 5, then we can get your money raised at 4, and then they make a phone call, then a bad call gets made by the banker to the hedge fund bros that they went to business school with, and then it starts leaking oil. They can't explain why, and by the time the company tries to raise the money, it's not 4, the stock's 2.5, and the broker dealer or the banker goes, well, we can do 2.5 for you. When you told me it was 4. Well, that's just the market, things went down, things, whatever. And then the companies are so far gone that they've gone through the process, they've done everything else, they end up selling more stock at a lower price, and that's the game. And so I talked to a couple small managers, and I tell all of them, no matter what your balance sheet is, you always have an ATM in place with as much of a reputable broker as you can do. I mean, just any broker where you can almost go to any small broker that does investment banking and set up an ATM to have it in place. Well, it comes out, this company was like 30 cents back in 2019, and I beat them over the heads and said, look, get something in place, whatever. They ended up selling 10 million shares over $7 when it ran with GameStop because it was in the same portfolio, and it saved the company. And I asked him the other day, I said, let me ask you a question. I know you can't answer it directly, but would it be fair to say that I would win the bet if I were to bet that you got an unsolicited phone call from an investment banker or directly from a hedge fund in January of 21 asking if you want to sell stock? And he said, that's correct. All right, so that's what happened. These guys panicked, and then the thing went from 30 cents to $7. They were getting taken behind the shed, and they panic, and then they go directly to the company saying, please, 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 please sell us stock. Because when they get into an infinity squeeze, there's only two things that remedy an infinity squeeze: bankruptcy and the company issuing more shares. That's it. Because there's too many shares, there's more shares short than exist, so something has to either die and go bankrupt, or the company has to issue more shares. So that's been the game, is that they just get ahead of the dilution, and then they force these companies into wild, massive dilution. So when these things go, that's an absolute tried and true thing, is they'll come panicked into these companies too, and beg them to sell stock. So just two anecdotal stories on top of what Ham's saying. I'm obviously, you shoulder to shoulder with him in terms of, everything.
Well, just look at it this way. I like to do it a different twist. I like to give the companies to give out a free dividend share, a warrant, exercisable. So it's the same thing. Only the retail investor controls it. Do you understand? Instead of going to any broker dealer, every shareholder gets 1,000 shares of stock, and you own it at 5, and the stock runs exercisable at 5. Stock runs at 50. Just send you $5 to the company.
Anything that either A, keeps it in retail's hands, or keeps the control at the company level. The danger is the minute you get a banker involved, they slice and dice and dance all over it, and bad phone calls are made, and then they get crushed. And so I just tell these brokers or the companies I do talk to, you want to try to maintain control, because then if the price falls down too much, the company says, no, it's their ATM. It's just the inverse of a buyback. They say, well, no, we don't want to sell down here. They can control and have more control. And so that was just more of an anecdotal story about what some of the behavior behind the curtain that comes when they start to squeeze. That these guys will come hat in hand begging the company to sell them shares, and I think we're going to start seeing that in a lot of names, where these companies are going to start getting strange phone calls asking if they want to sell some stock. And same thing with Frank saying earlier that they got a call that they offer him this kind of a convertible, blah blah blah. That's what they do, and so all this stuff is very educational. Sunshine's the best disinfectant, and you just try to keep the pressure up.
They're just fronts. These investment banks are just fronts for the shorts.
Well, the investment banks don't invest, so get that out of your head already.
Exactly.
So a Wedbush, if you call them up, or a Wainwright, they call them up. They don't have any money. They go to their hedge funds. Yep. They get them. They say, "Hey, we're going to do a secondary. The stock is 5. Where are you going to do it at? We'll do it at in 10 days. We'll take the average price." So they knock it down to 2, like Pedro just said, and they'll do it at $1.50. Then they cushion themselves with free warrants. And the guy shorted the stock. They buy back in you're using the shareholders' money, and everybody's happy. They lock in 3 points. They're already gone. They sell their warrants, and I'll see you later. That's the game.
Pedro, you said one thing weeks ago that just stuck with me, and Ham mentions it all the time. These sellers just sell without fear. Just sell without fear.
Look, everyone knows who's listened to me babble my spiel. Is I fully believe that this is an actuarial model. It's very similar to life insurance. They if you look at it from an actuarial basis of take 1,000 microcap, small cap companies, how many survive, how many fail, how many succeed, how many go crazy, and just the probabilities are 80% plus fail, just because the product's not as good, the execution's not as good, they can't get capital. Well, if you have a model that shorts them all, and then you have these cornerstones of manipulation that I talk about all the time, which is being able to stay anonymous, the uptick rule, the market, the naked shorting, all these other things to do this, to execute this. It's a great business model. I think it's an absolute business model and they sell without any intention of ever covering. See, that's the difference. Most people think buy low, sell high, sell short, cover low. That's not what they do. They see this as an ATM machine, and they literally they have no intention of ever paying back, ever. Their intention is to kill the company and force the company into such dilution that the goose, by the time the bird is able, the product is ready, whether that's a drug or whether that's a product of anything else, that the goose is so fatted, there's so many shares, that the goose can never fly. It can't even get off the ground because they started with 10 million shares and they thought they could get to their, phase 3 or whatever it may be with 100 million shares outstanding. And then the TAM for their drug or what may, and the earnings power, and they say, oh, well, 100 million, we can still be a $30, $40, $50 stock. Well, what happens when they get pinned and they don't account for these criminal behavior that makes them dilute to such an extent to raise the same dollar? Instead of 100 million shares being outstanding when the bird's ready to fly, there's 800 million. And then it's over, because then if it goes to 2, it's $1.5 billion company, and it's not going anywhere because the end market for the drug just isn't that big. That's the game. And it goes back to, I always say, Patrick Byrne's article, Saint Small Cap. It's the best analogy of what these guys do. For everyone to read it, it's a 5-minute read. It's the best explanation I've ever seen for the strategy in these small caps. And the sad part is our regulators are so captured and complicit that they allow this. They allow the playing field. Like you think that if you're going to, start a company and be whatever, you expect a level playing field. And if you don't execute, you don't become a bigger company, well, that's on you. Well, that's just not true anymore. And it's the regulators that allow this playing field to be such a fucking cesspool that the stock market has gone from a place of capital formation to a place of capital destruction. That's why there's 60% fewer companies now than there were in 2000, because they're just destroying the little companies. And there's, when the leaner years, in 2000 and now, the companies were buying back shares and buying each other. So there's fewer companies that are investable. So we have simple, I always call it, if simple inflation is how much money chasing too few goods, we have simple public company inflation. That meaning there's too much money chasing fewer and fewer investable companies, like big enough to be invested. So then the micro caps and the small caps of the world that used to become the bigger ones, they never have a chance in this market since 2005, 2004, when most of this stuff happened in earnest. It was going on before, but Madoff really unleashed Pandora's box in between 04 and 07. And so then it's become tippy top, and then there is an issue that if the roost, the cattle or whatever, come home to roost, there's a big problem, because the market is so narrow and top heavy that you're going to have indexes get absolutely pummeled if there's a collateral call on these massive short books. And if you just add up all the securities sold, not yet purchased, whether it may be at SIG or CS or Morgan Stanley or JP Morgan, you're talking most people don't realize SIG's is bigger than Citadel's, right? And you're talking billions of dollars of securities sold, not yet purchased. Not all of it is in small caps and micro caps, but I'll venture to guess that 20% of it is, maybe more. Well, you just do the math, you add up all of that, take it times 20%, and then say if all that went up 300% at one time, if all of them did what Finger has done at the same time, they would all be bankrupt. All of them. They'd all be dead, because their books would implode. That's and then you have a collateral call, which means they're going to start dumping their big caps, and that's what a lot of people have talked about in terms of there being. And then this family office thing where they were supposed to come. I think it was the end of June. They were supposed to implement this new rule on collateral, basically increasing the amount of collateral the family offices had. because they're in a panic after Archegos. Well, that got kicked down the road till October, right? Well, we can't have that happen, so they delayed that 6 months or whatever it may be. But I'll have to look into when it is. But they know that there's a systemic problem here because look what one fund did with Archegos. It took down Credit Suisse. That was it. That was one stock. One did it, took down. That was the domino that started the downfall of Credit Suisse. Then it had to be Mercy bought because they can't let the secrets out, and they couldn't have that book get unwound because then the forest fire would jump the road and burn down all the other houses. And so that's it's such a complex, tangled thing. But this is thousands of companies, not a few.
Yeah.
I'll shut up now.
What's your reaction to Finger right now? I wouldn't make a good lawyer because I don't know what you're going to say. Do you think the market's telling you Finger's going up?
My take on Finger, and again, not financial advice, just opinion. I get the feeling. So I look at. If anyone knows me, I talk about what's called a handoffs, and that's when the people think it's a squeeze, but it's actually them moving shares internally because they're up against either a failure window or losing their ball and whatnot. So instead of actually going and having to actually cover, right? Because we saw what happens when they actually have to do that. You get GameStop. You get 300 to 400. That's what happens when they're actually no more games. You have to cover. That's what happens. That can happen it can literally happen in thousands of companies, in my opinion. And my take on Finger is, if you go back and look at the move from 62 cents to 9.80 last year, we had a 5-day window of roughly 150 million shares of volume. That was some squeezing, but a lot of that was them moving shares from the left pocket to the right pocket. They were getting squeezed, they were getting called in, because if they actually had to go cover anything close to that, the stock would have been $400. So it's a means by which to maintain control. Once they do, they weather the storm, and then they all get back on it and start killing it back down again. And if you move it internally from your left pocket to your right pocket, it may be up, but the left pocket is short from a higher level. It doesn't matter. And so what I'm watching in Finger is we've had a move from roughly $1.60 to $7, I think it was, and we haven't had a blip of volume. And so it's maybe hard to articulate or explain. In order to be able to move shares internally, these hedge funds have multiple prime brokers, right? I know of hedge funds that have 4 or 5 prime brokers for the express purpose of they would whatever. In order to move shares from the left pocket to the right pocket, you're going from one prime broker to another internally, or into a friend, or moving it offshore, or whatnot. The fact that they haven't been able to move big volume of shares in Finger, my take is either A, someone made a bad phone call to a hedge fund and says, these guys, this Lynn Partners, are way out over their skis in this particular name, and someone big is cornering them. And it's a big institution because the buying has been very professional, in my opinion. It's not panicky. It's steady. It's like you would buy for a big institution. It's how we would buy it for an institution. There all day. You might take a couple of days off, let it back and fill, but stay at a level which is usually your average price or slightly below. So you might buy a stock starting at 2, take it to 5. You get an average price somewhere in the 365, 368 level. But then it starts getting away from you above 5. You talk to your client, and you're like, yeah, let's just chill for a little bit, and let's be, let's be what's our average price? 368. Okay, well, take $1 million to buy with a 365 top to see if it comes in. And so then when it comes in, because you've been pushing on it, it comes back in, and then you start collecting stock, and it doesn't go down anymore, and then it turns. And that's been kind of how the behavior's been, at least from my viewpoint, in Finger. And
just stop you for a second. So exactly what I've been telling you, that someone's accumulating the stock. If you can't see it, then you're blind. That's what I've been telling you.
So it's under. My take is it's under. I think it's the very, very bullish scenario here is that it's under accumulation. The bad guys didn't know what to think in the beginning and started fighting and using all sorts of capital. Then they had a little moment of panic, like, oh God, what are we going to do? Who's doing this? Trying to find out who the buyer is. They can't find out who the buyer is. Now they're stuck. They start rolling out more options for their own protection, right? That's as much for their own protection than anything else, guys. And because so they can start selling premium and then using some manipulative techniques to try to kill it through expirations to have these options go worthless. It could also be their prime brokers requiring them to put on and maintain some type of a hedge on a certain percent. Even if it's out of the money calls, they could be forcing them to buy out of the money calls, the short. And it's like, no, we're not comfortable, right? Where whoever their prime broker is, I think it's Jeffries, could certainly be saying, look, we're not comfortable here. You need to have this ownership of calls, whatever. So something like that's going on. And the mere fact that they haven't been able to do this big volume handoff, and I can point to literally dozens and dozens of handoff patterns that you'll see are identical. It's always the same pattern, and there's always the backside of it, which is the stock gets crushed because it truly wasn't. It looks like a squeeze, but it truly wasn't a squeeze. They're doing it. I call them pressure release valves or handoffs, where they're actually doing it to maintain control. Think about a boa constrictor killing a rat. Sometimes they don't have the proper grip, so they have to loosen up, and then it lets the rat gets a little bit of air, and then they get a better angle on their grip to kill a stock. So you'll see, like, look at Mullen. Mullen has had just handoff after handoff after handoff all the way down, and the pattern's all the same, and all they're doing is that's just the shorts moving it from the left pocket to the right pocket and getting their grip again to be able to attack whatever, because the rubber band can get too stretched. And so the real bullish scenario in Finger, in my opinion, is that they're unable. Things have changed behind the curtain. Prime brokers are worried about risk, and they don't have a home to move all these shares into the left pocket. So when they do that, they have to know that they can control the top. They have to know when they do it, they're controlling the top tick for the run, so they can move the shares and maintain control. If they make a mistake and move the shares from the left pocket to the right pocket, and they don't control the top, and a big buyer comes in and gets them upside down, they're dead. So I'm waiting and watching. Believe it or not, lower volume to me is bullish. And I know that.
Hey, Joe, just stop you for a second again. People ask me about volume. I says, it doesn't mean it. This is great. Look, sideways, no volume, they're dead. That's exactly what I've been saying.
Correct. You're absolutely right on the volume part. The other reason why there's so much fake volume in this shit. I mean, any company under $1 billion, I would honestly say 80% of the volume is fake turn. 75 to 80%. Some names, I think it's 90%. I really honestly believe that. A couple companies I've followed for 15 years, I've studied it all, and it's like, wait a minute. I've studied it over the entire quarter of reporting, where I look at all the volume, and then I track all the institutional holders of what they did and what volume traded, and then everything. And I'm like, wait a minute, this can't be. It's got to be just fake churn. They also do it to keep the SIR, the short interest ratio, i.e. days to cover, down, right? Because if they let a stock that's got a big reported short, even though we know reported short numbers are the baseline. They're a real number, but it's the baseline. It doesn't capture swaps. It doesn't capture proprietary desks. It doesn't capture a lot of stuff. But I think you can take a reported number as a baseline number. Well, if they don't churn a stock that has a elevated short interest, even if it's 20%, people don't understand how big a short. If a company has 25% of its float short, it's really big and very difficult to handle. If you can't have the ability to make it short. So what they do is they churn and create fake volume, which lowers the short interest ratio, which is the days to cover.
Pedro, let me just stop you for a second. For those who don't understand, you can actually go to a shortsqueeze.com. You can see it. There's always a number saying, based on the volume, well, the stock's trading 800,000 a share. They can cover the 800,000 share short in a day and a half. That's what he's talking about. Many years ago, there used to be stocks like Taser and whatever, or Herbalife, where it would say that it would take 45 days, 50 days to cover, And those are stocks that we used to attack because obviously they can't cover it. It's, it's right there. And that's why you get all these wash trades to create the volume. That's exactly right.
And the way that it's real simple, it's a real simple math problem. All you do is take the absolute number of shares and divide it by the average daily volume. And if you have a lower average daily volume, your SIR, your short interest ratio, goes up. And if you have higher average daily volume, your short interest goes down. So they naturally want a low short interest ratio because then it looks like, hey, nothing to see here. It doesn't get any predator who prey on shorts. They don't look at it. And I've also studied a pattern. Everyone who knows me, I talk about Digimarc all the time, DMRC. It's got, this tiny float. It's got, billionaire and institutions own 60% of the company. The CEO owns 20% of the company. There's 16 million shares that float, and there's 2.7 million shares short. And I've owned it for literally 15 years. And we've watched and studied this where the short interest ratio will get up to 45, or whenever it gets above 35, which it's done dozens of times, always, they fake turn the following 2-week period to make sure that short interest ratio gets back under 30. All the time. I've studied it literally for over a decade, and you can count on it. So whenever they feel like, oh shit, we didn't do enough volume, and we don't want this hitting any alerts, let's go, boys. We gotta, back and forth, Ham, you and me, I'm gonna hit your bid, you hit my bid, I hit your bid, you take mine, I take yours, and then we go play golf. And that's the game. That is the game. There's so many different manipulative techniques to keep control. But long story short, I think if you put a gun to my head, I think someone found out that somebody's in trouble on the short side, that they're in a position they can't get out of, and I think someone's slowly just turning the screws nice and slow and doing it in a professional way. And that's how the way the stock's being bought is being bought as if I was buying it for a good sales trader or equity trader who's buying it to get the best possible price possible. And that's what Ham also talks about, and he's dead right. These dirt balls, they don't want to short the stock higher. They want to short a stock lower. That's counterintuitive. If you gave me $1 billion, I could blow these guys to pieces. Not even that much, because all you'd have to do is be reckless in buying the way they short sell. You just do the opposite up, and you can get in their way in a big way. But this stock's being bought as if a professional's buying it because they want the lowest possible price. These short sellers, they don't want that. They want to create volume and whatever and short more lower to give the impression of institutions bailing out of the company. Ham's been dead right. He says it all the time. He's dead frickin' right on that strategy.
I just posted the real short to cover the real short position in finger most and everybody is 1.2 days to cover 805,000 shares. Well, today looks like a normal day, 300,000 shares. If they had to cover 805,000 with no selling, the stock would be $7 to $10.
Yeah, and you can make the case with finger that if I understand correctly, like roughly 54% is held very tightly of the float, and so that's not trading. So you could actually probably make a case that finger, based on if there was no shenanigans, just a regular market, they should probably trade between 60 and 90,000 shares a day. So
that is correct.
It just trades 300. 300, if you did the actual math, it's like doing the math, fingers similar to like Digimarc in the sense that you do the math and take out the big holders and index funds that aren't day trading it, and you take out the insiders and whatever. You're like, wait a minute, there's no way that this much is trading amongst these number of holders. So it's fake. And so 300,000, you think like, oh geez, that's not a lot of volume. It is relative to the underlying and the number of shares out and the ownership structure of Finger. Other things, like Mullen, where there's, before there are all the splits, it should be trading more. But smaller names, it really pays to do some work on the ownership structure and then look at the volume. And then, or just go back, and some of these stocks that have been around a long time, go back to like pre-2005 volumes. Like, go look at the volumes in the 90s of some of these names. They used to trade 7,500 shares a day. We used to call it trading by appointment. It would be a $2.50 spread. and you would trade by appointment. You'd have to go dig around and try to find sellers and come to them, whatever. They just wouldn't trade. They just wouldn't trade. And so, anyway, there's just so much bullshit.
Listen, I appreciate it, and everyone, this is exactly what I'm saying. This gentleman is exactly from another. He could have sat next to me because we both say the same nonsense. It's easy to see. It's the same blueprint. You have to study this stuff. It just doesn't come to you overnight. So I understand it. We study stocks. He's been studying stocks for years, and that's what I do. It's the same patterns. It's the same thing. And again, the game is pretty simple. Again, it can only do certain tricks.
And then the hard part is that I say this to people all the time, and then I have to hop, is, just because you find out that you have termites in your house doesn't mean the termites are going to leave because they're there. We're seeing that, right? That they don't just leave. They don't just say, oh, gee, we're caught. That's not how this game works. This is a steel cage death match to the end. There's going to be no survivors here, folks. There's no way that they just wake up and have a come to Jesus moment and say, guys, you know what? We're just going to stop. It's just, they've already spent the money, or it's locked up elsewhere, and they never thought they ever were going to have to cover. So just because you have termites in your house does not mean they're going to leave. You have to exterminate them. You have to put sunlight on them, and you have to make it incredibly uncomfortable and get them out. And Ham's right. If you have a CEO that doesn't want to fight and doesn't care, that is a big problem. That's a very difficult to accomplish that, because you really do need a company that cares about their currency and they care about their life's blood. If not, it makes it so much harder. And I'll leave it at that.
So let me ask you
Thank you very much.
Can I ask you one more question really quick on Finger? In your gut, is there a breakout point? Are they going to be able to control it?
I don't know their book. I think you can glean from, this isn't proprietary or anything else. Ham, you can see it. The $6, a close over, I don't know, 625 is the third rail, right? You can just see. They literally have somebody at a desk who's being told, if this thing closes over this price, you're fired. You just keep going. You do every trick in the boat because we cannot afford to let this go. And so, yeah, I do believe that there's a trigger level, and they keep resetting, right? So you have, it based on the previous highs and stuff. I'm not a technician, but it's even like a pretty not seasoned eye can see where it is. But to me, it's always more about feel. It's like, where do they really pucker up? Like, where are they eating coal and putting the diamond? And when it got over 6 and change, they were puckered up tight, and then they started bomb dropping, and they started doing some real nefarious shit to get it back under that level, because they were told, either by their prime broker or whatever, hey, you know what? If this closes over here, we're going to have a conversation tomorrow morning, pre-market. And so, put a gun to my head, I'm going to say it's in the 625 range, but it has to be on a closing basis, because you want that sitting overnight, or it has to get through in such a demonstrative way that it's just game over. But to me, it's more. It's not as much a price to me in this as it is. I want to watch what the volume is. I actually want volume to dry up. That's what I want, because that's going to indicate to me that they're running out of ammunition, right? They're Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and they're hiding behind the wall, and they're running out of ammo. And that's what I want to see. When I see the big churning volume, I'm like, they're moving shares. And when I see it lightening up and then still acting well, then I'm like, okay, here we go. And I actually tweeted a while back that it was a very similar volume pattern when the pullback happened in June, late June, when they marked it down for quarter end, end of June, quarter end. The 2 days of volume there were the lowest 2 days of volume in the prior 10, 15 trading days, but they were upward, and they indicated that they didn't have any more ammo down there, or they didn't want to use any ammo down there. And sure enough, the stock turned its nose up and went up, and then they got back on it again for the end of July. mark down, right? They had to get it down for their July monthly performance mark. So they worked it down, and again, you had a lighter volume on the bottom. It wasn't like people all think that you got to have this capitulative bottom. They trick everybody on this shit. It doesn't matter what the volume is, whether it bottoms or not, and in small caps, it doesn't matter. So I want to see light volume and consolidation, because it's a corny saying, but it is true. The longer the base, the higher the race. And if we can build a nice, steady, consolidation range here, then it can be game on for a much higher, sustainable, structural level. So that's my general take. But it changes daily.
That's exactly what we've been saying. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Have a great one, man.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you, Pedro.
All right, we'll leave it at that. We basically said the same thing in a different way. We both came from the same background. When you're buying stock, you're here to please your client, not everyone on this phone call. You can see the accumulation, and he thinks like I do. Once we go past 6, I think they're going to fold. I will make sure that we will torture them, Lynn Partners. We will have the truck at their door. We will have people trying to get interviews from them. We will torture Lynn Partners so they can't stand it anymore. Their faces will be exposed on your big screen TV. Get the popcorn ready. Get your AMC popcorn ready. We're torturing these guys. I don't give a shit who they are. All right? And again, you can see it. It's the same thing. He just gave you that, I've always told you when they're washing trades, they're just trying to create volume, right? Buy more settlement time, move things around, using different prime brokers, whatever the tricks may be. Okay, you know what they're doing. That's why they have all those LLCs. Look at this. Go look at the Kramers. Go look at Alpine. They all do the same thing. It's the same pattern. The DOJ knows it. The FBI knows it. The SEC knows the pattern. Okay, it's just a matter of when they're going to pick these characters up. But I do think they're going to pick them up. And I will stick with my opinion. Finger Motion and GTI are life-changing events. I said it in GameStop. I thought it was in GameStop. It did work. All right. Again, these guys have created, and he talked about it. Don't let it go past 6 1/4. You're fired. Right? They put up their fights, and every time we've seen the walls, what happened to them? Right? They always tumble down. So if it's 6 1/4 or 7, whatever it's going to be, I see that assault coming shortly. Right? I see those walls coming down. And you know what? They can keep playing all the games. They don't talk. It's very quiet here. But again, we will get their names all over D.C. We will let every regulator, every enforcement agent will know about Lynn and the Kramers. All right? It's not up to us, but we will give them all the ammo where they can't stand it anymore and have no choice to go investigate these characters. All right, I can't tell you about every other stock on the board, but, we just gave you I posted the short up there, how it's 1.2 days to cover 800,000 shares. If there's no selling, it's impossible to cover the 800,000 shares. All right, so that's a number that he just talked about. They create volume to drive that number down. All right, that's an old trick. All right, but that's what they do there. On the real short, not the naked short. The naked short is basically a death blow. They only can go one way. Kamikaze pilot, we said the same thing. All right, everyone. Listen, have a great day. It's 1:46. And I'm going to go kill myself right now. I'll speak to you later.
You did a great job. Thank you very much.
Oh, Pedro did. Not me. I didn't say anything. That was good. All right, have a great day.
You're too humble. All right, everyone. I think I have a whole list of questions, and I wrote them down. I didn't ignore them, but I think we just had a feast. Rather than go back to the appetizers, I'll save these questions for tomorrow, and we'll get them answered. But I loved that, and I really appreciate the education. I can't tell you strongly enough how valuable the information, but also just the mindset, the thinking process, which Pedro just shared with you, which Ham shares with you. These are almost trade secrets for how people make money on Wall Street. And they go out and raise money. They do the 220 model, and then they use these strategies, these back and forths. And these two gentlemen and others are opening up the swinging doors into the kitchen so you can hear how it's done and you can profit from it. I tell you, as someone that has too many years on Wall Street, because I wish I were young again. Somebody asked Bob Dylan if there's, well, I think he turned 70 or something, if there's anything he wanted. He said, I'd like to be young again like my audience. But anyway, this is amazing. It fascinates me. And I really didn't know what Pedro was going to say on Finger. I didn't get a chance to ask him on GTII, but I didn't know what he was going to say. What I heard is a confirmation of what I think I've been telling you. I know Ham has. This buying that's been going on, and you see it in the charts, you see it in the volume, you see it in the stubbornness of the stock price hanging in there. It's a pro. It's a pro. And that's why I think we're about to have a breakout in Finger. And the closer we get to next Friday, the more touch and go it is that it could happen before August 18th. But I will suggest to you that it doesn't take much. And I loved his answer. It won't take much. If the pressure is, guys, if this stock closes above 6 or 625, it might now be 590 for all we know, or 650. If it closes above, we're taking your Quotron away. We're taking your sell button away. You have no choice but to settle then. That could happen any day, and the stock could gap open, and it won't matter what the charts say. It won't matter anything. You could see the stock at open 9, 12, 15, 21, 33. And you're going to, what's going on with Finger? Well, you won't know until I can't find that letter. I've just shown it to you many times. August 1, it's dated. Well, you ask yourself why. Why did they put that listing? To me, there can only be one reason. They're going to lavalier someone else. They're telling their one chick, "Hey, we're done with you. We're going to give you some time, and then we're going to put our ring around the neck of another banker." And I just think the setup for Finger looks explosive. Scott, in my opinion, buy-in might already be underway, and the market maker is just trying to play around and mitigate damages. Yeah, Scott, it could be many market makers doing that, but it could also be several prime brokers that are doing what you're saying. One point you bring up that we should not forget, I don't care who the professional buyer is, but the potential is the biggest buyer out there is the Lynn Partners / their racketeering friends, the other LLCs, maybe from Germany or wherever the hell the benchmark people, maybe. We don't know. I don't think Jeff Easton has the brain power to concoct this scheme and come up with these thick documents that ensnare CEOs. He was trained by somebody. So there's maybe somebody out there. And I wanted to get Ham talking, but Ham used to do business with the owner of the Mets. That would have been fascinating. Thank you very much, Moody Waters. That's terrific. That will go toward the next batch of marijuana for Lucky. We're fighting for our financial freedom. But to me, if you listen carefully to Pedro, but for damn sure if you listen to Ham, but then you hear about the woman, I forget her name now, who studied this with, I think, with Patrick Byrne, and then she told all of her family to get out of the markets 15 years ago. And I've got the book here, but if you read my apologies, Dr. Suzanne Trimbath, but all of them, but to me, if you just think about it, you've got the retail investors' shares sitting in the system. Grandma O'Leary's 1,000 shares of IBM just sitting there. They've been lent out, rehypothecated, all these words to confuse you for the basic concept of printing the title over and over and over again in return for people's cash. And little Mrs. O'Leary, back in the Depression era, or shortly thereafter, she learned, or her mother learned, not to leave the certificates at Wall Street. And so they used to ask for the certificates at home, keep a little file box, and let it grow and grow and grow. And then they come into Merrill Lynch with a stack, every now and then with a stack of Exxon shares that you couldn't believe. They started with 10 and now they have a fortune, but they didn't leave it in the system. Now little Mrs. O'Leary is leaving it in the system. And what the system is doing is they're making an upside down pyramid. And they're trying to keep that pyramid from toppling and wobbling and collapsing. And then they're coming to you, the taxpayer, for a bailout. These sons of bitches are going to come to you for a bailout. Everyone from Stevie Cohen, Ken Griffin, whoever's running Goldman Sachs right now, Jamie Dimon, they're going to come to you. But if you, I forget who tweeted it, whatever the word is, X'd it the other day to Ham. You can go to Ham's column. But someone is hearing from Goldman Sachs that they're levered, annoying word, levered up 100 to 1. That is what they rumored the leverage was at long-term capital management, those geniuses. And they figured they would never be caught out. When you read the book, the leverage was actually higher than that. That Goldman Sachs genius, Corzine, he did the same criminal actions at MFG, MFS Securities. He's not in jail. He's a Democrat, but he's a thief. Anyway, I think Finger's going to pop the bubble, and I hope each and every one of you makes a nest egg that leaves you comfortable. But the only way to get these bastards is in the pocketbook. And for all of the advantages they have, as Pedro described, hey, you hit my bid, I'll hit yours, we'll hit hers, we'll hit theirs, and then let's go play golf and smoking cigars and hitting the country club bar and driving their Mercedes and coming home to the wife later. I've been around it all, but not on the level that Pedro maybe has or Ham. I've been around it though. I've seen it. All full of themselves. Just so self-satisfied. But in the back of the head they know if there's 20 variables, they've covered 18 of them, 19 of them. They didn't count on Ham. They didn't count on this big professional buyer. And they didn't count on the whole market tightening up for the banks all at once. And they didn't count on you. They did not count on you. I gotta help me up harness for Lucky Boy. M Echo. I actually reversed that. I think Goldman Sachs captured the government and the Fed and the regulatory bodies. And when I say Goldman Sachs, that's who I think's the titular head, the capo di tutti capi, but the rest of the families are there. Morgan Stanley, Visionaire, Ken Griffin, SAC Fund. They're all there, the rest of the families. But the capo di tutti capi is Goldman Sachs. I never promised you's a rose garden. I beg your pardon. I never promised you a rose garden along with the sunshine. There's gotta be a little rain sometime. You've got to look before you leap. Still waters run deep, and there won't be someone there to pull you out. Or I won't always be there to pull you out. So smile for a while and let's be jolly. Life shouldn't be so melancholy. MF Global. So come along and something again. I beg your pardon. That was Lynn Anderson. Her best song, in my opinion, was Reason to Believe. And she covered it, but I think she did a great version. And then Rod Stewart did Reason to Believe. And if you want a treat, look up Rod Stewart at the Victoria and Albert Hall singing with, God, I can't remember her name right now. Just the most amazing woman voice. I'll find it for you. Too many things on my brain. I could normally remember her in a heartbeat. Reason to believe someone like you. It'd be hard to live without somebody else. Someone like you makes it easy to give, never thinking about myself. Someone like you. All right, I'll find it. Her name is, it's not Lily. Her name is, look out for, all right, no, that's not it. It's not Reason to Believe. The song that he sings with her is The Stars in Your Eyes are so they on me and the dun, 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 dun. Let me just see if I can find it. It's so good I'd almost That's it. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. How you broke my heart.
Okay, here's this one.
All right. I don't want to lose my. What is her name? Gosh, what is her name? I don't want to talk. Amy Bell. Rod Stewart and Amy Bell. Rod Stewart and Amy Bell singing I Don't Want to Talk About It. If you want a treat, listen to that. If you want another treat, look up She Believes in Me with Lionel Richie and Ken Rogers. You could do those two things. Take your mind off of stock trading. Hi Sadaman, am I transferring mine? If I could, I would, but they're not letting me transfer it, but I would. But remember my perspective. I don't mind holding a private company for years. So I guess that's the downside, but I don't really see it as a downside. If you have your shares at AST, it takes no more than filling out a form to have them transfer them back to your account to trade if NextBridge ever trades. So it's not a lot of downside to me. And so Sato Aman, I would do it. But my broker, in fact, if I had time, I might make a call in front of you, but we've had a good 2-hour call. I think that was amazing how it ended. So I don't want to stretch this one out because I've got a couple things I got to do. But I do want to call in and see the status of my request for paper certificates. But I'm not, it's dragged on so long. My skepticism kicks in that I don't feel like I'm going to get it done. But I would do it if you have the opportunity, Sada Aman. I've met you, so I can't really give you advice, but I feel like I feel like you're my friend and I have compassion for you. I would do it if your firm allows it. Eva Cassidy was amazing. Eva Cassidy was amazing. 75% of the trades are fake. I agree with that. I don't know as much as all these people. I'm just... Luciano Pavarotti and Barry White are... I love Luciano Pavarotti and James Brown, but a step above it is when you see Luciano Pavarotti and Barry White sing together. Two of the largest men in pop music. Eva Cassidy was great. Eva Cassidy is a great. I had all her albums. You guys know what albums are? I had them. CDs, but now we don't listen to those. I'm starting to see more Diamond Hands comments on Twitter. I think it's an individual choice. I think Finger, when it breaks, is going to go massively high. So if you want to diamond hand it, that's your choice. It increases your risks exponentially of turning a winning trade into a disaster. So I agree with you, M. Echo, that I'm not a fan of diamond hands. I'm not a fan of it. Yeah, MF Global is what I was talking about. The stars in the sky to you are only a mirror. Check the flux capacitor. All right, the flux capacitor. All right. Yeah, the buffet took a beating that night. Yeah. It's amazing because Barry White sings with that magic of his voice that can bring any lovers back together after a fight. And then sitting there in Italian is Luciano Pavarotti with his serious, and he has his own charisma. It's amazing. Yeah, Sada. I think that's what I would do if you have the opportunity. And thank you very much to. I'm sorry I didn't mean to skip the thank yous to Barbara. That is possum. And that I will put towards some cod treats. COD, cod. Lucky likes these fish cod treats. I'll get some, and I'll tell him they came from you. All right, so it's 2:09. I think it's kind of an odd time to quit, but yeah, I think look, Mexican silverback, I would think that would be a disaster. There's no question that I think the brokerage firms are trying to start limiting their liability. The more shares they get out of their system, the fewer clients can sue them. Well, in the broad sense, there may be some ancillary issues that we'll leave out for the time being. But if they then came to us and said, well, for those who are left, go ahead and sell your worthless pieces of paper, we'll give you 2 days. I think that's a disaster. I think it's a disaster because they'll say, well, we can no longer honor the look. What makes the shorts cover is the hammer on the other end. The hammer on the other end of December 9th and December 12th was they had to deliver shares that didn't exist of a private company. That doesn't exist anymore. So anyway, that's just my opinion. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we can, as much as we want to debate it, it's like watching a hurricane form or a tornado form. We can't change its path. We can talk about it. We can get out of the way maybe, but we can't change what's unfolding. And the large, I've said this so many times, but the 5 large holders, the largest holders of NextBridge, of MMAT, of MMTLP, aren't going to let you get screwed. They just simply are not going to let you get screwed. All right, so yeah, Pat Byrne calls the SEC he has an interesting name for it. I can't remember right now, but it's essentially agreeing with you. It's all fraud. So anyway, I'm gonna call it, end it quickly, sort of abruptly, because I haven't eaten. I think we had a great call. I thank each of you for being here. I think Not Legal Advice was terrific. I think Frank Benedetto did a great job discussing just how devious the Kramers are, and he now has firsthand experience with it, which I just think is as invaluable as it can be. And then Pedro Philly was Possum. he wouldn't want to be called Possum, but it was Possum. And then of course Busy Brands and Ham was. I think he was. Speaking of Pavarotti, I think Ham pulled a Pavarotti today. The Voice. So anyway, we'll leave it there. Tomorrow we'll get these other questions answered. All right, we'll get them done. Let me just quickly look and see how Fingers trading. Yeah, they've got it under 530. If the SEC's watching, doesn't it bother you that it's 529.4? That's communication. That's fraud. That's crossing shares. That's letting other criminals know what they're doing. And you don't care. You're here to find out if there's some sort of cabal trying to drive the stock up. Nobody here is trying to drive the stock up. We see that the Lynn Partners, Benchmark referred Finger to the Lynn Partners. We see the criminality that's happened for 3 or 4 or 5 years in Finger. Most recently, all you have to do at the SEC and at OTC and at FINRA, Congressman, if you're watching, all you need to do is go back to around October, November. Finger was executing its business plan magnificently. They got listed on NASDAQ. They went over $9 or around $9 a share. And then what happened? Coordinated, racketeering, criminal, or organized, if that doesn't, if that's not redundant, attacks on the stock, selling shares that do not exist without a prospectus, without a use of proceeds, occurred in the amount of 95 million shares in about 10 days. Just go back and look. But you have no curiosity of that. If Finger goes up, you're going to contact the CEO. But 95 million shares driving it from 9 to 65 cents doesn't bother you at all. That's the cleansing nature of short selling. Do you actually believe this bullshit that someone teaches you? It makes no sense. SEC, if every CEO in America that has a company under $1 billion market cap is criminal, why don't you just go out and shut them down? We don't need these short sellers doing it for us. I don't think it's true. I think you're allowing the best and the brightest, the entrepreneurs, the investors, men and women of all walks of life, be destroyed so you can protect Goldman Sachs and Ken Griffin and Stevie Cohen. That's what I think. So on that note, if you can sleep at night doing that, go ahead and sleep at night. All right, thank you, Scott Scheller. That's great. I'm gonna say sayonara, and I'm gonna wish all of you peace and blessings, and we'll catch you on the B side.